Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Celia Ward-Wallace. I'm so excited to talk to you and for you to share your experience and wisdom with me and all of my readers. So I'm looking forward to hearing about what you do and how you got to be where you are.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be with you and definitely to connect with the people who are part of your community.
Yeah, so share with us what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, well, I'm sure like a lot of people who are following and listening, I'm multi-talented, I'm multi-passionate, so there's a lot of things that I do. I'm also a mom of two daughters and a wife to my husband. We've been together for 18 years, so that really is my focus and my why of why I created this business around, freedom and a lifestyle of really being able to enjoy the things that I have in my life that are blessings. But primarily I work with basically aspiring or emerging soulful, spiritual female entrepreneurs. So people who either are still sort of trying to figure out what their purpose is, but they know that they were created for something more than what they're currently doing, or people who are maybe working a 9-to-5, whether they like the 9-to-5 or they don't like the 9-to-5, but they feel like, they're interested in maybe starting what I call like a side hustle. So a little business on the side that's more aligned with something they're really passionate about. And then if for some people who are just starting off in business, maybe 1 to 5 years in business, just getting their business off the ground. And I help all of those type of women who really want to create what I call like a soulfully aligned or soul purpose aligned business, go online with their business. So I teach them all the things from A to Z, how to come up with your business, how to align it with your soul purpose, how to really figure out who you want to serve, all the way up into the point of how do you launch that business, how do you get your first client, make your first dollar, and really how to craft it in a way that's aligned with what your dream life and your dream business would look like, so that you stay really focused on your core values and your core desires, and you don't end up like a year or 5 years into it going, I did everything I'm supposed to do, but here I realize that I can't stand what I created. Instead, the goal is for you to be like, oh my God, I created something that I love, that feels like it's 100% me. And now it's just all about growing it and getting more visibility and influence. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. I love that. I think that's so inspiring to other women who are trying to do the same thing. And I see a lot of women out there online who are doing this, and it's becoming like a pretty popular thing to do with, an online business, to have the freedom and to convert a passion into an income stream, which I find really awesome. So tell us about your journey and how you figured out your purpose and that this was what you were meant to do.
Sure. Well, like a lot of people, as I said, we come into this universe open and excited, like as little children, feeling full of like light and energy and possibility. And then somehow, especially in American culture, we start getting these limitations placed on us about what we can do, what we can do, what we can't do, who we're supposed to be in the world, what all of the status quo sort of check boxes we're supposed to take are of, get a good job, get a good education, get a house, get a family, and you'll wake up and you'll be so happy. And the reality is that most people wake up and they're not happy. And so for me, I went through a similar journey of, I had this beautiful upbringing with my parents. They're civil rights organizers. So I had this really unique experience of growing up in a very diverse community full of multiracial people and people of all different beliefs. And so that's a lot of the reason why I end up now with this really uniquely diverse community of women that are attracted to me of all different cultures and ethnicities. So that really served me. But like most people, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I just was sort of following the path that I thought I was supposed to do. So after college, I went and got a safe city job. I just hunkered down there and thought, I'll just stay here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, and I'll collect a paycheck. And worst case scenario, I'll be here for 30 years. I'll retire at 51, and I'll get that full pension or whatever. And my husband, I met when I was 20, and he was already an entrepreneur. He was a little older than I was, and he said, let's get into the real estate market. And so we started with just one little baby piece of property for $72,000, a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. And we grew from one property to multiple properties. And over the course of about 5 or 10 years, we grew to a multi-million-dollar real estate business. And so I have a lot of experience with running a business, but what happened is it wasn't really aligned with my core values. It wasn't really a fit for where I was at that time. And then the real estate market crash came, and we just got totally wiped out. You know, we instantly were facing foreclosure and bankruptcy, and really had like a super, super dark, you know, down period of our lives. My husband also suffered a career-ending injury at the exact same time because he had his own 9-to-5 as a firefighter. And so we just were like in this super dark period of time, and a lot of people can relate to these twists and turns that life sends you. And now I know that that was a blessing. Like those so-called failures were blessings for me because there were so many lessons in it. And it gave me a total 180-degree turn in perspective, where because I was so depressed and I was so stressed out and just overwhelmed and felt alone, I went on this, you know, inner search for meaning. I read, I researched, I started practicing and really trying to find my own version of spirituality and spiritual practice, because my parents were amazing, but they were atheists. And so I was raised like my values were political values, like about equality and, you know, all the stuff you learn in religion and spirituality, but there was no sense of God or higher power or even power within. Mm-hmm. And so when I went through this whole journey to find that over 6 to 12 months, I really started to find these bits and pieces of theories and practices that resonated with me. And I created my own form of practical spirituality that I used on a daily basis. And I just started seeing these like amazing transformations in my life in terms of how I felt. I was no longer stressed out. I was no longer anxious. I was no longer fearful. I just felt like positive and optimistic and hopeful and felt safe. And then I just was so excited about it. I just started talking to people about it all the time. You know, I was in line at Starbucks. I'd be yapping somebody up, you know, be at a birthday party, just be talking, giving out all this free advice. And so then it occurred to me that I could take all of these gifts and skills and tools that I had my whole life, which were leadership and speaking and people skills, and combine it with this new passion for helping people shift their perspective in life towards possibility and create some sort of business out of it. And then I was led to coaching, and I got my coach certification. And the minute I took that class, it was like this light bulb moment of like, this is what I was created for. This, you know, combines all of my unique gifts and geniuses, and I can so do this. And so I talked to the head of the company that I got trained by, and I said, I want to teach this class. You know, you're from Canada. I can teach this class. I can do it. Let me take over the California region. And so immediately after getting certified, I spent about 6 months getting trained in how to train other coaches to become certified and how to start their businesses. And that was about 5 years ago when I became a coach. And then since then, I've certified and trained like thousands of coaches and helped them set up their businesses and help them become really aligned with their values. And after that, I spent a year at my 9-to-5 and sort of got my ducks in a row and really figured out what I was doing with this whole coaching business thing. And I started making some money. And I just came home to my husband and I said, you know what, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. I can't go back to the job one more day. I am out. And this fall, that will be about 4 years ago that I left my 9-to-5 and have been a full-time entrepreneur.
Wow. I love that journey. I mean, there's so much of that I relate to also, because I too get really interested in reading books and going on different websites and retreats and finding that kind of spiritual connection that just enhances every aspect of your life. And it kind of, you know, lights a bit of a fire under you to say like, okay, I'm worth so much more than what I'm doing right now. I can do something better. What am I good at? So how do you help other women figure out their purpose once you've figured out yours?
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's really, I mean, there's many things that we could do or are meant to do in our lives. It's about figuring out where we're at and what we're the most excited about doing for the next stretch in time. You know, our lives are long, and so we can reinvent ourselves. We can evolve, and what we're interested in doing as a calling and passion right now may not be the same thing we want to do 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But what I like to do is go back to sort of all of the twists and turns of your life, everything that you've been through, all the dark times that you've had, and the journey to find the light and how you overcame. And really think about, okay, what in all of those twists and turns do I feel the most passionate about? What do I feel like, you know, I had that experience for a specific reason, for me to have some knowledge, some wisdom that's going to serve other people in the world. And if I could, I would talk all day long about whatever the topic is, and I would help people. If money wasn't an issue, I would teach a class on how to overcome divorce, or how to deal with an autistic child, or, you know, how to plant urban gardens. Like whatever it is that you feel like, I learned this, I experienced this, I feel so excited and passionate about my journey and what I can share with other people, that is a really clear indicator of something that you should really think about aligning yourself to and creating. It could be a hobby. It could be like a volunteer thing. It could be just like a little side job. It doesn't have to be a full-blown business. You know, going into full-blown entrepreneurialism is a real thing, but just even to get going in the direction of your passion. And then also to think about, like, what are the skills and tools that you've had your whole life? Like I said, for me, I've always been a leader. So even when I didn't know what I was supposed to do with my life, because my parents were leaders and were speakers and writers, that was sort of bred into me. So I was built with a lot of confidence. I was built with a lot of like chutzpah. And, you know, I was leading, you know, walkouts against the war in junior high. And in high school, I was creating community groups with my high school students around talking about race issues and, you know, what all different ethnicities, talking about what, you know, stereotypes they were dealing with and what they felt about it. I loved to write. I always excelled at writing, and I always felt comfortable standing in front of an audience speaking. But I never knew that that was like, oh, combine all of those things and there's a career around that. I just thought, hey, I'm a great leader. And so when I found coaching, and I was like, wait, I can write, speak, lead, and I can help women or anybody with anything that I've ever been through that I know just from my life experience, not because I went and got some fancy certification or training, but because I know, because I went through it myself, that if I follow this process, I got these results, and I can share that with somebody else who's maybe just one step behind me, to say, try this process. I think it might help you. And yeah, so going through those exploration processes, those discovery processes, and really getting more clear on, you know, most people don't realize like their life has meaning and purpose in it. And so they think like, either, you know, I just haven't found what I'm supposed to do with my life yet, or maybe that's not for me, I'll never experience that. Instead of realizing, you know what, all of those dead-end jobs that you had were for a reason. And you learned something from each and every one of them. Every failed relationship you had was for a reason. And if you think about it, you learned something from each of them. And if you can sort of compile all of those experiences and all the knowledge that you learned, then you can really help people with what you know, and just align it with the thing that you're the most excited about, you know, that you feel like, I just would sing from the mountaintops on this topic, then that's the direction to start going in.
That's awesome. And I love, when I was reading your website, I kept coming across this term soul care. And I recently wrote a blog post about self-care. And since I did, I've seen everyone kind of talking about that. It's a really hot topic right now. And I love that. So what do you define as soul care, and why do you feel it's so important for people to practice? Is that your spiritual practice?
Yeah. So I sort of coined this phrase called soul care because for me, what I've been saying a lot is, so I sort of have 3 pillars to my business. One is soul care, one is soul purpose, and one is soul business. And depending on where you are in the journey or what speaks to you, I have different free things. I have different products and services that I can help you in those different aspects of your life. But so for me, soul care, I coined because what I had been saying was self-care, soulful practices, spiritual practices need to be a core factor in your life. And if you have a business, it has to be sort of the heart and soul of your business. And so instead of repeating those three things over and over again, I was like, oh, soul care, you know, I can just like bundle it, right? And so what that means is just to remember you are the heart and soul of your entire life. And, you know, whether it's men or women watching, we tend to take care of everybody else around us. We tend to, you know, give so much away. We overdo it at work. We overdo it in our relationships. And at the end of the day, we don't practice self-love. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't invest money in ourselves to take care of ourselves, whether it's get a massage, get our nails done, you know, get a new perfume, get some hand cream, get some face cream, you know, like whatever it is to show yourself, like, I love myself, I value myself, and I'm going to give back to myself. And so the soul care practice is to say each day, can you take, whether it's 5 minutes a day, or like before we got on this interview, I just sat outside in my garden for an hour and did some EFT tapping, which for those, probably most people don't know what that is, but emotional freedom technique. It's a form of tapping on certain meridian points on your body. And so it mirrors the effect of acupressure and acupuncture without having to go see a practitioner. And so that's one particular practice that when I try all these different practices, certain ones you're like, okay, I tried meditation, maybe meditation's not for me, or I tried yoga, maybe yoga's not for me, but this is, you know, listening to guided meditations I love, or walking in nature I love. And so for me, one of the things that I love is EFT. And so I sit outside and for 30 minutes, I'm doing an EFT practice where I'm talking about, you know, how I want to overcome certain limitations. And so more on the topic of EFT, but the point being, we all need to take that 5 to however long, you know, for me, it's at least an hour a day in the morning, and if possible at night, to really ground ourselves and give back to ourselves and, you know, focus on whether it's affirmations, mantras, positive self-talk, whatever it is, the reprogramming of our subconscious mind, of releasing all of those limiting self-critic conversations we're having in our mind and replacing them with these positive visualizations and affirmations of what's possible, that is getting us back in realignment with our true selves. And when we don't practice soul care, and when we don't take care of ourselves, and we just tell ourselves we're last on the list, our life reflects that. Because I'm a very spiritual person, so it may not resonate with everybody who's listening, but in my belief system, you know, whether it's God or the universe or Mother Earth or whatever you want to look at it is conspiring for your greatest good. And you're like co-creating, right? So if you want all these things, you know, you want this amazing relationship, you want to make lots of money, you want to have this beautiful house, well, God, the universe, whoever wants that for you too. And when you ask for that, when you say, please send me this beautiful partner, I want to be in love, the universe is going, okay, we're going to send it your way. But you have to co-create with us. So you have to do your side of the bargain, which means you have to look in the mirror and say, I love you. You're worthy. You know, you're a beautiful person. And, you know, you're ready and open and willing to receive love in your life. You know, and when you're starting to look in the mirror or walking down the street and saying, you know, who would love me? I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not talented enough. You have to catch yourself and realize, okay, that's out of alignment with what I'm calling forth into my life. And so how can I expect to achieve that and receive that when I don't even love myself, when I don't even take care of myself? And so that's why the core of everything, I believe, is that soul care, where you're really, really, really focusing on how much you love yourself, building yourself up, getting really clear on what's important to you in your life, and aligning yourself with what you're calling forth to experience. And then everything just, you know, it is magic, I guess, but it's just, you manifest. You're going to manifest, because then you're going to take forward aligned action with that visualization. You're going to start, if you're asking for that beautiful partner in your life and you're practicing that self-care to say, I'm worthy, I'm good, I love myself, I spend time with myself, I build myself up. Then when you're out at a party, you're going to come in with that confidence, with that flair, with that positive energy, and you will reach out to somebody or spark a conversation. And that's where you co-conspire, because you're taking that forward action. And who knows, you might find that aligned partner when you're out at the party.
I completely agree with everything you just said. That's like so in alignment with everything that I'm thinking right now. And I'm actually reading Wayne Dyer's The Power of Intention. And pretty much everything you just said was just what I had been reading about yesterday, about if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect other people to respect you? If you don't love yourself, how do you expect love to come into your life? And you really have to be a mirror for that which you want to attract. And it's so true. And I think that it's really important that women and everyone really start to realize that and know that you can author your own life.
Yeah.
You just need to have the tools to know to do the mindset work. I think the mindset work is a really, really important part of all of that.
It's the crux of it all. I mean, it's really it's everything. And when we come in and we're born, we come in with the mind. Like I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, they don't have limitation. They don't have, they don't worry about death. Like we talk about death, and my grandfather just died. Their grandmother, my husband's mother just died, but they talk about it like with no like stigma, and they don't worry, and they just have their own belief, that there's a heaven and the spirit passed on and all that stuff. But they're not freaked out about it. They don't have all of the stuff that as adults we have. My daughter says, I want to make as much money as possible so I don't ever have to worry about what I can buy and what I can't buy. And that way I can help as many people in the world as I want to help. And I'm like, yeah, amen, sister, keep that mentality, because I don't want to break her down to reality and say, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to make a lot of money? Well, it's really hard to do that. And, do you have a great idea? And, well, what do you, all that kind of stuff that our parents, our pastors, our community tells us, where then we start playing small. We get smaller and smaller and smaller. And we feel like it's so scary out there to try something new. It's so scary out there to take risks. What if we play big? What if we shine our light as bright as we can? What if we are fully 100% ourselves in the world? Why is that so scary for us when that's the way we were created to be?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I love that. So aside from the spirituality component, which is something I'm very passionate about, I also really am interested in health and wellness. And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of your non-negotiable daily routines or health regimen routines that keep you in the right mindset and the right, feeling happy, feeling healthy, ready to take on the world and do the amazing work that you do? What are some of the things that you do for that?
Yeah, I'm having like a little tickle on my nose. My hair is blowing on me. So, I mean, number one is sleep. I'm a sleeper. I love to sleep. If it was up to me and I didn't have children and I wasn't so eager to hop up and start working, I would sleep, a good 8 to 10 hours a night. But certainly I get 7 hours of sleep a night. I'm very conscious of what time it is and what time I need to wake up. And so I make sure I go to bed at the right time. Obviously there's exceptions to that, but in general, I'm very regimented about getting good sleep. I have blackout curtains, I listen to meditative music while I'm sleeping so I can get into really deep sleep and get rest, because I give a lot of energy. My energy runs really high. I'm very engaged in my work and in my community, and I give so much out that I need to replenish that. So I'm very conscious of my energy. Also, I really try and get movement on most days, some form of movement. And so whether that's doing Koya, which is one of my favorite practices. So if people don't know about Koya, you can look it up. It's Qoya. And it's basically just a form of dance, like meditative dance, sort of trance dance, with really great tribal beats where you're just reconnecting to your spirit and you're moving. And so if you like to dance and you sort of like yoga and meditation, you'd love this. If not that, I do nature walks. To me, nature walks are my favorite because my number one thing favorite is nature.
Me
So
too.
whenever I'm in nature, I feel the strongest connection to my source.
Yeah, me too.
So I feel like it's a double whammy where I'm getting exercise / also getting connected to my spirit and my source and my why. And also exercise, I work out with the trainer and we do some, high intensity aerobic and weight training. I also take spin classes. So to me, it's really, again, about like getting connected with what feels good to you. And so each day, even though I have a schedule, I have a pretty regimented schedule, but I will lean into it based on my feeling. And so if I wake up and I'm supposed to go to spin and for some reason that's not calling to me, then I'll just say, okay, well, what else do you want to do? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go home and do some, stretching or whatever? In addition to that, I have an altar where I have, my crystals and my vision board and my tarot cards and stuff. And I know that's not for everybody, but that's the stuff that I like. And so, at least a few times a week, I sit down, I hold my crystals. I set intentions with my crystals. I look at my vision board. One of my absolute most favorite practices for emotional wellness is doing my daily journaling. And so I'll just sit down and do the morning pages, like from the Artist's Way philosophy, where you just write, you write for 5 or 10 minutes and it's sort of like a mind dump, and anything that comes out, and you're not judging it and you're not reading it and you're not stressing about it. It's just like a way to get all of your subconscious stuff out onto paper. And then I would say I'm a healthy eater. I'm not like a strict person with food. I love food. I enjoy alcohol, at times, cocktails and wine and stuff, but so I'm not repressive with it, but I'm a conscious eater. And so I just pay attention, like I just sort of feel into the day and I'll be like, oh, you had a big breakfast. Okay, so maybe you should have a light lunch, or, I just make sure that I'm eating throughout the day, pretty regular, like every few hours, eating regularly, drinking lots of water. I usually have some sort of morning green / blueberry smoothie drink, something like that. And my other thing for emotional health and wellness is just communicating. So, being really authentic in how I feel and what I need and what's triggering me, and talking with people about it, with my husband or with my kids, doing my best to show up, being emotionally healthy for them. But also if I'm just not in a good way, facing the facts of that and communicating with that. And in terms of my work, I'm really transparent about that also. And so that's been one of the things that's helped me be very successful in my business is I really show up fully myself in my business, and I'll shoot videos or I'll do posts where I'm sort of letting it all hang out. I'm not trying to be like, hey, be like me. My life is perfect. It's more like, I'm trying, this is me. This is real. And people respond to that because they realize, hey, she's like me. She has a similar life. She deals with similar things, but she's also really successful. So I want to create something like that also.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really appreciate you giving me your time today. And so I want to respect your time. So my last question for you is about the soulful business aspect of the pillars that you were talking about before. What is the difference between a soulful business and a regular business? And if there's women out there who are interested in getting into a soulful business, how would you recommend going about that? What kind of advice do you have for us entrepreneurs in a soulful business?
Yeah. So basically, I feel like there's a big shift in business happening, especially with the rise of female leadership, and women are doing business differently, and men too, which just basically is, the old sort of patriarchal white male American perspective on business is very sort of rigid, is all about workaholism, drive for the money. And don't get me wrong, money is important and you should be really clear about that you do want to make money and set yourself up for opportunities to make money. But the new version of Soulful Business is basically saying, the more you can connect with your soul purpose, the more you can do these soulful practices each day, the better off you're going to be in your business, because it's going to continue to be aligned with what is unique about you and what you're the most passionate and called to do, so that you don't end up creating businesses and offerings around things that don't light you up. And as a result, you don't attract the clients that you want to, because they can read that. They can see this is not authentic. This doesn't seem like she's even really in this, right? It's just like a cookie cutter version of something that somebody else is doing. And so Soulful Business is so important, because if you're going to go into business, you better darn love it. And if you love it, then you can create something really passionate, really unique, really aligned with your purpose. And that's why I created this Superfly Soulful Business program, which is an 8-week online soulful business program for aspiring and emerging spiritual entrepreneurs, female spiritual entrepreneurs who want to, whether they want to stay at their 9-to-5, that's totally cool, or whether they're looking to transition over the next few years into full-time entrepreneurship. We work with you to basically give you the step-by-step process, not just like what to do. We literally tell you how to do it. So it's like tutorials on every step of the way. There's women in our community from all around the world. It's super diverse. As I said, that's who I attract. So I end up having these multiracial, international women in the community that are all positive, like-minded, and supportive, and on a similar journey. And over the course of 8 weeks, they go from like an idea to actually having a business and positioning themselves to, start their first business or start their first online business and get their first client, make their first dollar, and be off to the races.
That's awesome. I love that. And thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and everything with us. Where can we find you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, even if you just Google my name, Celia Ward-Wallace, you will find me all over the place, because I work really hard on creating great content. So I have lots of stuff out there, lots of free, valuable stuff. That's my thing that I'm sort of known for, is great free content. But if you go to my main website, which is my name without the hyphen, CeliaWardWallace.com, you can get a free 28-day soul care plan, which will walk you through the next month, a step-by-step process to get really aligned with all those practices that we talked about. There's also all kinds of free stuff and interesting stuff. There are great videos and blog posts. And then if you're interested in at least learning about how to launch your online business, if not saying, hell yeah, I'm in, like, how do I join? The next class is starting in the next month. And you can get on the wait list at the website, which is thesuperflyprogram.com, and get on the wait list there, and you'll be the first to know when we open the cart, and you get the early bird promotions and all that good stuff. And the last thing to know is I have an amazingly awesome, engaged, diverse, free online community on Facebook that I'd love for you to join. And that's called the Superfly Society Mastermind. And so if you just go to Facebook and go in the little search bar there and type in the Superfly Society Mastermind, you will find it, and you can request to join, and I'll add you in, and then you'll be in a whole circle of amazingly supportive, soulful sisters.
Yeah, I love the Facebook group, by the way. I belong to it, and it is so great to be part of a community. Anytime I feel like I need advice or a question, or if I see someone who posted something that I want to give advice to, it's all right there. And you're right. It's like this sisterhood of supportive and engaging people who have the high values and, appreciate the same kind of things. So it's wonderful. I encourage everyone to join.
Yay!
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really, really appreciated all of your wonderful wisdom and advice, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yay, me too. And one last thing for your viewers and listeners is my goal is for each and every person who watches this to have some sort of light bulb moment, some sort of igniting of a shift in perspective. And I would love for you to reach out, even if none of my offerings are fit for you, but you loved the interview, you know, send me an email. My email is celia@celiawardwallace.com, or send me a private Facebook message and just say, I listened to the interview and this was my aha moment, or thank you for this shift in perspective. And I just want you to remember that you're perfect exactly as you are, where you are right now. You don't have to have anything, be anything, do anything differently than where you are right now. So just really embrace your journey and accept that you're on the exact perfect step that you're supposed to be. And the next step will be the best step for you too. And that you can just love yourself and accept yourself where you are. So lots of love to all of you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I will talk to you all soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.